Hi, Hauke Götze here with a short demo of the Policy Applicator for Microsoft Intune. The Policy Applicator for Microsoft Intune is a tool that allows you to configure third-party applications that you normally cannot configure using ADMX ingestion or native Intune configuration ways. We're talking about applications here that normally save their configurations in INI files or XML files. These are mechanisms usually not accessible using OMA-DM or an ADMX ingestion that would write registry settings. So in this demo, I will show you how to configure the VLC media player and how the policy applicator works in the backend and configures the VLC media player on a target system. The first thing we have to do is to build our reference configuration that we later want to capture and to deploy. So we'll open up the VLC media player and we make some small adjustments. The first thing is I want to disable the network access to download metadata out of privacy reasons and the VLC media player to check for updates since I want to control them of my own. The third thing I want to disable is the maximum the maximum volume. Usually you can configure high volume levels that may damage the speaker, and I want the users to set this only up to 100% so there is no risk that they may break the speaker of a device. So I also make this configure this setting, which is under this section, and here you can see the maximum volume. It's in German, but trust me, that's what this says. And currently it's set to 125%. And I set this to 100 so that the user does not go beyond the 100% level. So I restart the VLC media player to make the to configuration active, and now we see here we cannot go beyond the 100%. So we have our reference configuration ready, and next thing we need to figure out is where does the VLC media player store its configuration. And as you may know or may not know, the VLC media player uses an INI file in the app data folder of the user. So we have here the app data folder, and then around VLC we see this VLCRC configuration file. Next thing is we want to open this one up and see if our configuration is actually in there, so we make sure that this is later applied to the target system. I configured something that is usually in the section Qt, and you can see here a lot of settings, but none of them are actively configured. These are just comments. So if we later take a look in the final results that the policy applicator has assigned, keep in mind that comments will not be transferred since they don't have any meaning for our policy. So just ignore these with the hashtag here in front. But here we see the Qt updates notif, which doesn't have a hashtag, so it's an active configuration which is set to 0. You see the privacy task is set to 0, and we also see here the where is it, the maximum volume level, which is set hopefully to 100. There we see it. Qt max volume is maximum 100. So we have a configuration that includes our configurations that we want to capture. For the capturing process, the Policy Applicator toolkit provides 3 scripts, and we use the convert ini to OMA-CSV template to convert our ini file into an Intune profile that we can later upload. So I go for the script, and we'll bring this here to the PowerShell. And the first parameter we want to configure is the file path, which is the file path to the file we want to capture. So I go here and copy this one here, so I don't need to enter this manually. The next parameter we configure is the path on the target system, so where the file gets installed or gets written when the policy gets assigned. This one is the app data folder, as we can see, and there's the folder VLC, and we have the VLCRC file there. Next thing we have the app name. I go just with VLC name, and the app policy name, which is where I use usually the file name, so it can be distinct which file is configured in this certain profile. Then we have the context, since so in which is this a user configuration or it's a system-wide configuration. Since this file is located under the user profile in the app data, this is a user profile. Then we have an operation. We don't need this at the moment. And we have the output file path where we can save our configured our Intune, our CSV file that we can later upload to Intune. So here in a pre-created folder for us, and we'll store it there as a CSV file. So everything's set. I will press enter, and after just a few minutes, the file is created, and we just take a short look at it and see how this file actually looks like. So here is the inside of the file. As you may know or not know, this is basically a table where each cell is separated by a comma. So just don't get confused by anything by the much stuff here. These are just huge cells, so just ignore this for a second. So the first row is actually the installation of the ADMX file for ADMX ingestion, so that the the OMA-DM knows how to translate our configurations to the registry. We have the install path here. This is pretty much straightforward, and the ADMX template that is installed. At the end of the file, we see the configurations that now actually matter for us. The first one is the file configuration. There we can see that we have here our target path, so where the file gets written. That's something we supplied in the command line. We have a parameter create file, which basically tells should the file be created if it does not exist yet. We set this normally to yes, and the default encoding for the file. You usually don't need to change this one here. This gets automatically captured from the PowerShell script. Then we have the three settings we configured in the VLC media player. You can see the updates notif, the maximum volume, the privacy task, and you can browse a little to the right to see here the values that have been set for this parameter. As you can see here, the maximum volume is set to 100, and those two values have been disabled. So we have everything ready here for the upload now. And now we want to push these CSV file to Microsoft Intune to have a custom configuration profile that we can assign to the user. So we need another script for this, and this is the invoke CSV to Intune upload script. And I will now launch this one. And the first parameter it requires is the path to our CSV file. This is something I will just copy and provide here. And then there another parameter, which is the policy name, so the name of the policy, how it is created in Intune. I will just name it this way. And then everything is set. I will click enter. Now we get a sign-in screen for Microsoft Intune. I will enter my administrative credentials here, and I will and then I'll have to do a little multi-factor. I will do this off screen. Okay, just wait for the and there we go, an administrative consent that we have to accept. And as soon as this is done, the policy has been uploaded. So next we check our Intune console for the configuration profiles and see if our configuration is now there. So here we have all the profiles, and there we see the VLC media player configuration that we just created with the scripts and uploaded to Intune. Here we see our configuration parameters as we have seen them in the CSV file, and we are ready to assign this profile to an Azure Active Directory group. So I use my testing group, usually is a test user in there, and save this one, and we switch to the machine of the user and see if the policy takes effect. As you can already see here, there's the VLC media player installed, but it hasn't been started yet. So we also verify that there's no configuration yet in place. Not that I try to fool you, but like a magician, I don't want to show you that this is not a cheap trick. So here we see the app data. There's no VLC folder so far. So we wait for the policy to get applied. While we wait, we can take a look in the backend of the policy agent. The agent consists out of a few PowerShell script and 2 tasks in the task scheduler that will run as soon as the Intune synchronization workflow is done. So this one is basically listens on the event log for the event that gets triggered when the Intune synchronization workflow is finished. And here we can see the two tasks that the agent installs on the system. One for the system configuration and from the user task. And these will always get a run when the event log fires a certain event that shows that basically says the Intune synchronization is done. The second thing we want to take a look at is the registry. There we can verify if our configuration profile is installed as it should be, and if the policy is actually written to the registry. So the first thing we want to take a look at is the policy manager that we can find in the registry, where we can see all the ADMXs that are installed. So currently we don't see anything related to VLC. That's not uncommon here, since we just assigned the policy and the synchronization is still in place. But sometimes it can take a second synchronization schedule, even especially when you just configure the file to make this one here appear. But I guess most of us who work in the client manager are not unfamiliar with the fact that you have to wait a little bit before something happens. Nothing happens real time in our business, and many problems get solved by just waiting a little longer. While we wait, I can get a little bit more into detail about the configuration possibilities for settings, since you can you have different levels of configurations that you can provide. You have operations. I mean, one of the default operations is the replace mechanism. This means if a setting is not there, it will be created, and if it's already on the system, it gets overwritten. So this is basically a create and update in a way. This is useful for configurations that have more policy characters. So you don't want these configurations to be changed by the user. So if the user now tries to change, let's say, the maximum volume setting to 150%, the policy applicator will reset this one to 100 if the replace mechanism is used. But you can also deploy recommended settings by using not replace but the create method, which will just create a setting if it is not have yet been created. This is more for recommended configurations. So you have a configuration where you say that this is very good for my users, but I don't want them to limit their freedom to configure the app as they want to. Then you can use just the create. So the policy applicator will only create the configuration if it has not been set by the user yet. And there are also 2 more options. You have the delete options to remove configurations from the system later for servicing, or just to update them. So if they don't create them, just update them if they were configured. These are the options you have here with the operation. This is nice to know. So let's have a look in the registry and see if anything happened here. Yes, we see here the VLC policy is now there. And we can also see the settings that came with the VLC media player and ADMX-Template and can now be configured. So let's have a look here. Here we see our 3 settings from the ini file and the configuration for the file mechanism. So then we can take a look if the configuration is applied to the user registry from where it gets applied by the policy applicator. So let's check for policy. and there is the policy applicator key, and here we see the special key for the VLC media player, and here for the application policy for our VLC media player file. And here we see the configuration for the file as we have seen in the CSV file, and we see here the 3 parameters that were are configured this way. So there's one last thing to check for us, and this is the ini file now that should be created by the policy applicator. And we see here now in the app data roaming, there is a new folder for the VLC, and we can see here that there is the VLC RC ini file. So just have a look, final look to see if it is actually looks like as we would like it to be. And here we can see the maximum volume is set to 100, and our 2 privacy settings are set to 0. So this looks like something we wanted to achieve. And let's start up the VLC media player and see if the settings work. There it goes. There we are. And as you already noticed, there was no startup screen. So like it normally is, where you set the privacy settings, the privacy settings are applied. And we can see here that we cannot increase the volume by more than 100%. And so we basically did it. We configured the VLC media player on the target system. The policy applicator is quite useful if you want to make your configuration independent from your software installation. You have advantages like you can configure policy type configurations that are enforced for the user, and you have the possibility to even configure the application if you didn't modify the installation, or if you even if the user didn't use your installation package, like you download it from the web and install it from there, or you can use a tool like Chocolatey to install your software, since your configuration can be fully detached from your installation procedure, which allows you to have a very elegant and small software packaging process and a very flexible way of configuring your applications at one time. The policy applicator works currently for any XML files and list files, but there is JSON to come, but most of the there's JSON to come, and it's currently expandable. The whole project is open source. You can find it on GitHub, and I really appreciate your feedback if you have any. And of course, if you need any help in bringing this into your organization, there were plenty good consulting agencies available. I would recommend you to go for FED Consulting. That's where I at least work, and as an author, I guess I can provide you the best support. Even though I hope you really enjoyed this presentation, and I'm really looking forward that you may implement this tool in your organizations. Well, then everything to say for me is thank you for your attention and have a great day.